I wouldn't call it a show. I would definitely call it bonus content.
Yeah.
Terrible bonus content, but bonus content nonetheless.
Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 174, for real this time, of Canadian Patriot Podcast. I don't know if I wrote this joke or not. Apparently we're the number 2 engineering firm. Oh, because this was supposed to be for SNC Lavalin. We're the number 2 engineering firm in Montreal. Now my old joke makes sense. We're recording on March 18th, 2019.
My name is Ian. I'm a sport shooter, reloader, hobby farmer, and the token Westerner on the panel.
I'm Gavin, a business owner, gun owner, hunter, atheist, volunteer first responder, and CCFR field officer in the GTA.
I'm not sure if this is a new thing with Google or not, but apparently you've also made a sentence fragment.
Yeah.
That's new. Huh. You used to only tell me my spelling was wrong. Anyway, hi, Tim.
Hi, I'm Liberal Tim. I'm a husband and father of 3. I'm a sports shooter, and did I mention I'm a liberal?
Well.
No slut shaming.
Then, according to the Google notes, you are the anonymous turtle.
Yeah.
You can be anything if you try hard. Or
Do you get to choose your spirit animal for the anonymous, or is this?
Oh yeah, I can change spirit animals like at the drop of a hat. I could just boom.
it's like changing genders.
Well, yeah, if you're a frog.
Why would you choose a frog?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Obligatory Alex Jones drop. As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com or email us feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. You can find the show anywhere fine podcasts are downloaded: Stitcher, iTunes. I don't know, probably other ones.
Yeah. Then while you're doing that, you can also check the podcast out on the social medias. We're on the Facebook, facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast, and the Gram, Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help. To support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Sure you're not a communist? Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Go to CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
All right, it's time for What Are We Drinking? What Are We Drinking is brought to us every week by Arrowhead Coffee. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true north, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee for... whatever. I was close. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you, no matter where you are. A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. All right, what are we drinking? Gavin, what are you drinking?
Once again this week, I am drinking American Barrels Bourbon and Coke Zero.
All right, Ian, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm going to keep channeling my inner pirate and drinking rum straight. The keto seems to be working.
Nice. The alpacas, do they try to steal the rum, or how does that? Is there a sharing thing?
They do sniff it, and they are technically vegetarian, so it could work.
Tim, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking 40 Creek Copper Pot and reverse osmosis water. Of course I am.
Of course you are. I'm
Sounds
drinking
like something you
Coors
drink.
Banquet because of course I am. Let's get into the news. We're going to start with the Canadian Forces looking at recruiting elite Special Forces soldiers right off the street. This is from Global News, and that headline is a lie.
Well, I mean, it makes it sound like they're just recruiting homeless people, but
So prior service contract.
yeah.
Apologies to all of our homeless veterans for the joke at their expense. Also,
You're trying to raise
fix
awareness.
that.
Yeah.
You're raising awareness.
Yeah.
I'm being liberal.
There you go.
So that means pointing out a problem but not doing anything about it?
Yeah.
Pointing out loudly and repeatedly about the
Yeah.
problem and how it is not being gender inclusive enough.
But don't forget the thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Obviously. Of course we have thoughts and prayers.
And donations, lots of donations to us. Yeah.
And also pointing out when the conservative doesn't virtue signal as quickly as you did.
Yeah.
That's right. You have to virtue signal first and hardest.
And
That's
loudly.
how you win. Well, the loudest and the fastest and the most.
Yeah.
Anyway, Special Forces contracts. Who wants to go join CanSoftCom? CanSoftCom recently had a change of command, so the new fellow that's in charge of it is trying to increase recruiting. This says Major General Peter Daw, but I'm not sure that he's actually a Major General. I have a feeling that he either got promoted since he became the CanSoftCom commander, or that, yeah, I think he's gotten promoted since maybe since he became the commander. I'm not sure. In any event, they're trying to increase the size of our special forces by 600 people. We have 2,000 active members in various special operations units in the Canadian military. That includes Joint Task Force 2, the Canadian Special Operations Regiment, and a couple of other supporting units. There's a Special Helicopter Aviation Regiment, and there's a small unit of troops that specialize in CBRN stuff.
At the risk of sounding like a complete tool here, but hey, what happened to JTF 1?
Not a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like,
it's kind of like, like preparations A through G. Whatever happened to those?
yeah.
Didn't work.
Okay.
JTF 1 is a little too on the nose, I guess.
I don't know if there was a JTF 1 or what happened to that. JTF 2 has been in existence since 1993, and there's a direct lineage there to the Devil's Brigade during the Second World War. So there's I couldn't tell you off the top of my head when CanSoftCom got stood up, but CanSoftCom encompasses Joint Task Force 2, which is the direct action element of the Special Operations Forces, as well as CSOR, the Canadian Special Operations Regiment. They're more of a they're more of a conventional special warfare unit. Think more like 75th Ranger Regiment in the United States military, where JTF-2 would be more like Delta, completely unconventional Tier 1 unit. Then you have 427 Helicopter. They're basically the taxi drivers. They have all the cool helicopters, and there's another unit that's responsible for CBRN. So they're looking at increasing the size in a fairly significant way, like by over 25%.
So just I'm using the Google here, and apparently the first JTF existed as an ad hoc unit that served a short stint in the Persian Gulf. So it wasn't really a unit, but it was.
And is JTF 1, while you're interning there, does that say it was also made up of RCMP members as well as Canadian military? Because I feel like that was why it was a joint unit.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. There's like a bunch of stuff here that I don't really want to read through, but I believe it was kind of, like a mismatch of kind of a bunch of different people that were relevant at the time. But then,
So, Special Forces, dude, relatively small number of Canadian military, being only 2,000 people. They want to expand that. The way that it works right now to get into special operations in Canada, be that CSOR or JTF-2, there is no direct entry program. You have to go through some other part of the military first, and then do what is effectively a component transfer, apply for, and become selected to go to training to become Special Forces. This new program that they're talking about would not recruit Special Forces soldiers directly off the street. It, based on Dawes' comments, it would be more of a training pipeline where they'll end up directly in the CanSoftCom unit, like family of units. So they'll go to CSOR or JTF-2 without having to do that minimum 2 years service elsewhere in the military.
Could it be the fact that they're having trouble getting guys to do a second stint? Is that what the deal is, or?
I think that might be part of it. I think that the other thing is they're trying to address other militaries have the same type of program. The Aussies do this. The Americans do this in a big way. The Americans have 2 direct entry programs for their special forces. You can do an 11 X-ray 11 X-ray contract 40 option 40. Pardon me, 11 X-ray option 40 contract, or you can do an 18 X-ray contract, and both of those are direct entry special forces contracts. So you go to infantry school, you go to airborne school, you go to other advanced schools, and then you go to either one of the Ranger regiments. I think 11 X-ray contracts or 11 X-ray option 40 contracts are directly to Ranger regiments. Ranger regiment. So U.S. Army Rangers would be the equivalent of our CSOR. They're conventional troops, but they'd be the best of the light infantry, the guys that jump out of airplanes to seize airfields and conduct direct action raids and support other special forces elements. 18 X-ray, I think, is a direct special forces contract entry, so you can go into other elements of special forces, not going into regiment, which would be a conventional light infantry type role.
Yeah, I think the Navy SEALs also have one too, but you have to take a bunch of creative writing classes first so that you can write books and screenplays.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what the contracts are for the SEAL teams, but I know that you can apply to the U.S. Navy to become a SEAL as somebody just off the street, and you just go to Navy boot camp, and then you go to what's SEAL school called? BUDS. So sorry for all of the commandos on the internet that are getting the details not quite right. Send me your hate mail.
We'd love your feedback. Send feedback. CanadianPatreonPodcast.com.
Yeah, I think this is a good option. I mean, this is part of the problem that they're having in the forces. They've introduced their diversity quotas. They want to have more visible minorities and more people of other various and assorted ethnic origins, not just native-born Canadians. And they want to have a 50% representation with women, I think was what we had read previously.
Like our cabinet.
Like our cabinet.
Just like our cabinet.
That does not, apparently that is not conducive to building a special warfare program.
Well, I mean, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of torn. Like, obviously, we should be getting the best candidates from wherever we can get them, and whether that's direct or indirect. But also, if you guys are supposed to be the best of the best, maybe it's not a bad idea to have them go through at least some stuff before you kind of pay them the big bucks and go through all the crazy expensive training.
I mean, it'll depend on how they build the pipeline, right? Because if they do this the same way as the U.S. Army Special Forces does, I mean, you still go to the basic school. You still go to whatever they do after the basic school in America, AIT, Advanced Individual Training, maybe, what we call SQ. Like that, you still go on and you go through that. The Americans send their people to jump school. I imagine most of our Special Forces guys would be jump qualified. So you go to 8 Wing and you jump out of C-130s for 3 weeks. I think the jump program's 3 weeks. So it'll depend on what their training pipeline is. I think this is an advantageous way of recruiting some of the younger people that are not patient, because to apply to the military to go and be an infantryman for, call it 4 years on average before you're going to be able to qualify to apply to special forces, it's going to get people in sooner. I mean, there's pros and cons to that too, right? Because the younger people aren't going to have the skills and the experience to be effective.
But it also means generation.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. But you also have people that are getting out of university at 25 or 26 or 28 years old that are then looking at the military. They're not 18, so they should have a little bit more life experience. So maybe doing 4 years in combat arms or in some other role is not productive, where they could go and be more useful more quickly by applying through some sort of a direct entry program.
Yeah, I guess it remains to be seen whether this is going to be a beneficial program or not.
I think it should be, as long as it's executed well. And I have some faith in the people that are in the recruiting group, that they're not going to just be making everyone who comes in off the street sign a contract to go into CANSOFCOM. They're looking for 600 additional people.
Well, I guess
that's not 600 people off the street, right? So like, even as long
as Harjeet isn't the architect of this, everything will be fine, right?
Well, we should keep Harjeet Sajjan as far away from the military as we can. Is he still the Veterans Minister?
I think they've
Minister of National Defense.
I think they've started to reshuffle things. I don't know. It's hard to keep track.
It's been more than 1 week since I checked to see what the makeup of the cabinet was, so I don't remember
Yeah.
who's in what job this
Somebody else just stepped down too.
week. The thing I saw today was it was the secretary of the Privy Council, something like that.
Something like that. I don't know. Sinking ship. That's all I know.
Sinking ship.
Jagmeet Singh.
Yeah.
No, he didn't step down.
He
No.
didn't sink either.
That's true. He's a witch.
Because he's made of wood.
No, because he floats. He didn't sink.
You mean like a duck?
What
He
also
turned me into a newt.
A
Gravy.
duck.
I should get drops off of Monty Python movies so that I can get sued for that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do something from the CBC. Now for something completely different.
But more of the
Yeah.
same.
But more of the same. RCMP officer's vehicle, badge, and handgun stolen from Northeast Calgary parking lot. The unmarked vehicle also contained the officer's body armor, pepper spray, baton, and handcuffs. In an even more confusing turn of events, the officer was apparently on duty at the time and left the vehicle unattended for approximately 20 minutes while he was inside of a nearby building.
What could you do in
No
a
further
building
dis-
for 20 minutes?
Yeah, especially
no
without
further
your
description
handcuffs.
given. Oh, it gets better.
The lineup at Tim Hortons is really long.
The police say that the person responsible for the theft had access to the vehicle after stealing a bag containing the keys from a locker while the officer was in that building.
What the fuck? Building
So where was
is
this guy that he was on duty? He left all of his crap in his unmarked, what does not appear to me to be a police issue vehicle, because it's a 2018 Nissan Rogue that looks suspiciously not like a Ford Explorer, so I'm not really sure what this guy's
Yeah.
driving. Put his car keys in a bag and put them in a locker that was apparently not secure. I have a lot of questions about how these events
Yeah.
transpired.
Yeah. And like, yeah, what fucking building was he in? Like, it sounds like maybe he was at the gym or something.
But he
Like-
was on duty, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's trying to break up a steroid ring or something. I don't know.
Or maybe
Yeah.
maybe he was at a rub and tug.
Do they have lockers at rub and tugs? I don't know the etiquette.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I don't know. That's
I don't know. I have a lot of questions about this. Also, since when is the RCMP using unmarked Nissan Rogues? That seems like a...
how
That's
many
the last
RCMP?
thing- Yeah, it's the last thing you'd
officers?
expect.
Yeah. How many
I mean-
RCMP officers is this now that have lost their guns?
A lot.
And these are the guys they're going to put in charge of firearms with no oversight? That RCMP?
That RCMP.
It's the same RCMP that wants central storage.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same RCMP that broke into people's houses in High River to ensure their firearms were secure.
Yeah. Yeah, that RCMP.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about this. The CBC does not answer any of them. But seriously, what
Sounds
was
about
this
right.
dude doing?
But don't worry, I'm sure he'll get charged with unsafe storage, and things will all work out well.
Yeah. And by that, he'll get put on administrative leave with pay for like 6 months until people forget.
Seems fair.
Yeah, I should like to see charges brought, although I realize that that is unlikely to happen. This is disconcerting.
Well, that's the world we live in.
Other things about the world we live in. Global news. Minister Bill Blair announces $11 million to support Ontario's guns and gangs reduction strategy. So this is also apparently part of the world we live in. This is $11 million over 2 years. This is part of the $300-odd million promise by the federal government to invest over 5 years to reduce gun and gang crime across the country. Naturally, most of this money is going to Toronto.
But hold on. So it's not a new promise. It's just a reminder that they're going to actually make good with the promise that they made a while ago.
But didn't they already have $375 million, like you said, set aside, and they haven't spent a dime of it?
Yeah, like 3 years.
Well,
Okay.
apparently
they
they're
want to
going to
get
start
stuff on
spending it.
crime. Yep.
Well,
Weird that this is happening right around an election.
It is unusual.
It's
So I don't
And
know what the
also
breakdown
after a
was.
scandal.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, again, the timing of this is very suspect.
yeah. It's almost like they want to look like they're doing something. But weird that their plan extends past the election time.
A bunch of fucking amateurs. I need Walter Sobchak.
He is your spirit animal.
Yeah. Well, for now, yeah.
For this moment, let's talk about how the government is going to spend the $11 million. And by the government, I mean the city of Toronto. So this money has been directed towards the Ontario Attorney General's office to establish a firearm bail support team that will be working in Toronto courthouses. Their goal is to work on firearms bail hearings in the city.
So is this for you and I when we don't have that magic piece of paper on us, or
No, I feel like this is I don't know. I'm not clear on why they're doing this.
get criminals that have been charged with firearms crimes back on the streets faster? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
It does sound that way. So, I mean, like, yes, we're spending money and yes, we're creating a legal team, but I don't really feel like that's a good crime reduction strategy. I feel like frontline policing is maybe the solution here. It's too bad there wasn't some way that a police officer in Toronto, for example, couldn't see someone on the street and stop and ask for their papers and maybe search them if they're behaving in an untoward or suspicious fashion.
Carding was against their rights. Come on now.
Yeah, they tried that.
No, I'm not talking about carding. I'm talking about
actually very successful.
Yeah.
I'm talking about stop and frisk.
Yeah,
Yeah, we want to go a step further.
that's right.
I mean, we're going to start with carding, and when then that doesn't work, now we're going to catch criminals on the street with their illegal handguns, because I don't feel like putting more prosecutors in the Toronto courthouses is going to do anything to deter the criminals that are out committing the crimes.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to be spending more money, how about that money get spent on housing them in prison for as long as they're at least supposed to be there, and not letting them out early?
At least until the hemp crop comes in.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. $11 million for some lawyers.
but I mean,
This is a good government make work project. I wonder how many lawyers you get for $5 million a year.
yeah, but I mean, it's virtue signaling at its finest here, because it's like it's money they've already promised that they're just promising again. So they're not even doing anything new. They're just finally making good right before an election, and potentially an early election.
You know who else is making good in the province of Ontario? The Premier's office, allegedly. CBC article. Ford government fires OPP deputy Brad Blair, critic of I never get this guy's name right, the new OPP commissioner. So I don't think that the CBC is being entirely honest in their reporting. Surprise, I know. Yeah, everyone is shocked. Look at their faces on YouTube. They're shocked. You can tell.
Well, that's right,
So-
people on YouTube. We can see all of your webcams too.
Yeah, seriously, Mr. Loomley, stop that. Stop it. Thanks for participating on the YouTube chat, though. Appreciate that. We talked about this before. The deputy commissioner, OPP, Brad Blair, was at odds with the government over shuffles to Ford's security detail and was it an estimate on work for a van to transport him around the province in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's, I shouldn't say that. Mr. Blair, former Deputy Blair, has been terminated from his position with the OPP. Apparently, this was all done legally and with due process. And
Any relation to that other Blair?
I don't know. We talked about this before, and we weren't able to reach a definitive conclusion in 5 seconds of looking on the internet.
I'm pretty sure
they-
he's related to the Blair Witch.
You're gonna need to be more specific as to which one that is.
He also turned me into a newt. So this comes after the spat that Blair was having with the government about Ford security detail and the estimate for the van that Ford wanted to use.
I like to call it the shaggin' wagon.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it sounded like, but the reason for the termination is because of the release of that confidential information for his own personal gain, which sounds like a person in a position of authority, a high-level public servant like the deputy commissioner of the OPP, shouldn't be releasing that sort of information and should in fact know better, because it's illegal. Not only is it inadvisable, it is against the law. You're not supposed to do that. So
Yeah.
I feel like this was a righteous firing, and both the public safety minister in Ontario and the premier's office had released statements to the effect that they were not involved in this decision, and don't let the door hit you on the way out, basically.
Yeah. Here's a hot tip from a private sector guy to the public sector people. Don't publicly criticize your bosses.
Generally, it never ends well.
Yeah.
Because there is a rule about that, isn't there? They can't publicly be critical about the Ontario government.
I don't know if they can't be critical. The reason for the termination was definitely because he released confidential information. But I would not be surprised if there's a rule about going bad against the sitting government.
No?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Even if there's no rule, because I mean, what limited free speech we have, I guess, guarantees that you can't be prosecuted by the government for having your opinions on it. However, that doesn't mean anything about job security, which is a totally different thing. So don't shit talk your boss. It's pretty much good advice for anyone.
Yep.
So the other thing with this that I want to bring up is the NDP, the official opposition party in Ontario. Somehow.
Hey, do you think Ford could, when he's doing his van up, he could get one for the Liberals?
Just a minivan.
Just a discounted rate.
Yeah. 2-for-1 deal.
50K.
So
50K would do that.
the Ontario NDP leader Andrea Horwath had to say about the firing was, it was a brave thing for this person to do, to come forward, and it looks like that bravery has lost him his job. No, I'm sorry, communist. That is not bravery, and that is not what cost him his job. Releasing confidential government information for personal gain is what cost him his job. And in my opinion, this was a well-deserved firing. Because you can't be in a position of public trust and then break the public trust and expect there to not be consequences. Federal liberals, take note.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact: the $50,000 modification quote that they had for the van that they wanted the OPP to do for Ford was that's about the same amount of money that Andrea Horwath wrongly claimed on clothing expenses.
I'm curious how much her son paid for that stomach tattoo, though.
Too much. Any amount is too much. That's right. 'Cause it's beat up on Andrea Horwath time. That's what we do. One more Ontario thing. This one will be fun. Ontario to ban cell phones in classrooms next school year. Is anyone shocked by this?
No, I mean, I don't think you need a government regulation for this. Like, teachers should just be like, put your fucking phone away, or you're gonna have detention. Like, you shouldn't have to ban them. It should just be like, put that fucking thing away.
Yeah, exactly. I don't realize why or understand why they need to legislate this when the teacher could just show some leadership.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's not the dog talking behind the camera. I'm just saying.
Can they though?
Well, this is part of the problem. Is how is our government indoctrination camp run by the government and by people that are not capable of leading on their own? So it stands to reason that because cell phones are causing a problem, someone has asked the government to come up with a solution. And since the government runs the school system, the government has decided what to do. Even though A lot of school boards have already had bans or have policies in place to allow individual teachers or schools to make decisions about how phone usage is set.
To ban it outright is ridiculous because there are instances where their use is justified. But if you're just dicking around on your phone instead of paying attention, then I don't know, smarten the fuck up. Like smack them upside the head.
Yes, and that's what this comes down to. Is it's a discipline problem in the school. This is just a symptom of the wider problem. Banning phones is not the solution. Banning government schools would make a difference because we shouldn't be paying for something that people aren't deriving value from. If you want to not go and take advantage of your free, no cost to you education, then stop clogging up my school system.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if we're going to have a government-sponsored school system, then fine. We get rid of the ones that are using their cell phones. You use a cell phone, you don't get to go to government-sponsored school. I have other things coming up later in the deck about how other things you do or don't do should impact your ability to attend government education camps.
Yeah, you can pay for that shit later when you get hungry.
Yeah.
Right? That's what is it that Tyler used to say? That which has
That's which is given for free has no value.
Yes, this is the thing. So, unsurprisingly, high school students don't take high school seriously, so the government is going to take away their phones so they pay attention. Because I guess prior to phones, everyone paid attention in school.
But you notice how they do value their phones because usually they have to pay for them unless they got really, enabling parents. But
I feel like a lot of it's enabling.
Yeah.
The other thing, the quote at the very end of the article is very poorly written, and I actually went up and I found the study that they don't actually reference. So, really, really bad yellow journalism. Is it really yellow journalism? Lugan Press? I don't know. Maybe I need to find which word to insult the writer with today because this article is so bad.
Incompetence.
No, yes, but
Shitty.
I feel like it's more systematic. So let me get the last two paragraphs out here. A 2015 London School of Economics and Political Science paper found that, quote, student performance in high-stakes exams significantly increases, end quote, with a ban on mobile phones. The improvements were largely seen among students who were normally the lowest achieving. Quote, this suggests that restricting mobile phone use can be a low-cost policy to reduce educational inequalities, end quote. So the actual study is a pain in the ass to find because it's just a discussion paper. CEP discussion paper number 1350.
You said this is from London, like is in England?
London is in England, the London School of Economics and Political Science.
Strange that they're in favor of banning things.
Yeah, that's funny too. So I read through the 46-page document. It's quite dull.
Super in-depth study.
Very in-depth study. Lot of formulas, lot of standard deviation talk. And basically what it comes down to is, and this I had originally read this and I thought it was very poorly worded by the CBC because I thought they were trying to make the claim that in the paragraph before what I had just read about where I couldn't find the freaking paper because they don't actually cite their entire source document. The statement that confused me was the board had previously said that enforcing an outright ban was next to impossible, and it said to curb technology use would be to place limits on educational opportunities as well. And that was why I was like, banning phones limits educational opportunities. I don't understand. I'm going to go and find this article and read it. And then 46 pages of detailed statistical analysis later, students who don't pay attention in school tend to get poor grades. Students who don't pay attention in school because they're playing with their cell phones also tend to get poor grades. Their grades go up 6% of one standard deviation on average if you take away their phones. Not 6% overall, 6% of one standard deviation.
But so, I bet if you gave them a multiple choice exam and let them use their phones during it, their grades would go up.
I bet it'd go, and that's what I thought they were getting at originally. Was like, well, if you take away their phones, the low income ones will do poorly, or the lowest achieving ones. I shouldn't correlate that unnecessarily that they're also low income, but the lowest achieving ones would do better if they had phones. Was kind of how I had read it, and then reading the actual discussion paper. It was like, oh no, it's just that people that don't pay attention don't do very well.
So it doesn't really matter the source. It's just however they don't pay attention, they just don't do well.
When I feel like that's a systemic problem. Like, I don't know, Tim, you probably went to school before they had cell phones in classrooms. Were there like shitty students in your class that were not paying attention and lollygagging on and not performing well?
Yeah, and I tried to take other students down with me.
A true liberal.
That's why you vote liberal. No, but this seems kind of silly. I don't care for more government intervention, and I don't care for the CBC's poor journalism. But
I wonder how many Ontario teachers have read that study that you read.
Got
to be like 2 or 3.
A number approaching 0. I mean, I can't say it's definitively 0. We'll talk about statistics on the next article too. But
I'm sure it was covered in one of their Pro D days.
Yeah. Can you hear the sarcasm from the panel?
Yeah.
I read more discussion papers from the London School of Economics than Ontario teachers as an entire bargaining unit do.
And probably more than the people at the London School of Economics reading.
Definitely more than Andrea Horwath's son.
Well,
I don't know. With all that time alone,
there were very few pictures.
All that time alone, got to read some when you're getting a belly tattoo. This is alone.
Well, let's talk about the reasons why you get belly tattoos. Ontario's mandatory class for parents seeking vaccine exemptions has 0 conversions. This is in the National Post. And again, the journalism is baffling because later we cite numbers where it's not actually 0 conversions. It's not definitively more than 0 conversions, but you could infer that it was, because why actually use statistics or present source data? I hate journalists.
Yeah.
As somebody who did a lot of math in school and didn't play on his cell phone, I spent way too much time doing statistics, and all of this stuff bothers me. It's like, you can't say it has 0 conversions and then later in the article say that like 1 case. Yes, 1 is a very low number, but 1 is not the same as 0.
Yeah.
Stop writing to a 3rd grade level, National Post. You're better than this.
You can.
But are there readers? That's the question.
But it doesn't matter. It's not making money anyway. You may as well write it for people that are actually capable of reading it. Isn't Conrad Black still in jail anyway?
I hear he's. I don't think he's ever even thrown a brick.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go through this. So the details of this program, introduced in 2017, was to educate parents on not vaccinating or choosing not to vaccinate their children, to give them a better understanding of why they were being asked to do this, because not vaccinating your children is apparently on the rise. I blame Hollywood, also journalists, all forms of the media, really.
Yeah.
So the training is conducted in anything from a one-on-one setting up to groups as large as 50 at their local health unit. And these are mandatory vaccine education sessions for parents who wish an exemption for their child. It includes a 25-minute film. I don't know how long the actual program is. One would assume it's an hour, and 25 minutes of that is watching this terrible government film.
Do they take the cell phone away from the parents when they watch the film?
I hope so.
I bet they don't.
Maybe that's why they haven't had any conversions.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the part where the journalists did the journalism thing. So the headline is in this one line. One public health manager put it, quote, we had a 0% conversion rate, end quote. It doesn't say where the public health manager worked. It didn't say who they were. It just has this one line. But later in the article, we talk about Toronto, we talk about Ottawa, we talk about Hamilton, we talk about Huron County, and of these, Ottawa says they had one parent that did not go on to submit a formal exemption. In Hamilton, they had one parent who's changed their mind. In Huron County, it's been our experience that they generally don't change their mind.
What's the cost
So-
of running these?
I don't know, but the anti-vax people that are quoted in this are saying this is a giant waste of government money, and I question that, because if this is being run by your public health unit, those nurses and staff at the public health unit are being paid either way. So I don't know what the training materials cost, and I don't know what the ramp up time was to have somebody like push a play on a VCR. So I mean, they had to become a nurse and stuff, but I'm sure at some point they learned how to push play on the DVD player. So I'm not really sure what the cost was to develop the program, but I can't imagine it was tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars.
Wow.
But it is a
that's
government program, so I imagine it was millions of dollars.
Yeah. For the lowest budget shitty movie you've ever seen.
Right. So I imagine there was some cost in that, but the actual training cost can't be very high, because your public health unit people are salaried employees that are paid regardless of what they do when they're at work.
Yeah, but shouldn't they be like washing bread pans or like sucking snake bite venom out of snake bites or something, whatever they do?
Have you ever been to your local public health unit?
Oh shit, yeah, it's like over there, like by the river.
Yeah, it's where you go get those handfuls of free condoms.
Yeah. And they have donuts sometimes.
Yeah, you ever see those people working on snake bite victims or really doing much of anything productive?
Well, I hope they do something productive when I'm not looking.
Well, I hope that too, but I kind of feel like they work for the government, so, you know.
Yeah, well, they got to be at least like stitching up, like an axe handle wound or something.
Yeah.
No, they're public health. They're not ER.
Oh, no, they're probably not doing a whole lot of anything.
Right. So the actual cost of running this, I imagine, is very low. And somewhere in the article, I think it said there was 5,000 students in Toronto. So it stands to reason that there's like a couple of 10,000 people that have taken this, because when Hamilton's talking about like 400 people having taken theirs, and Ottawa's talking about 300 people having taken theirs, and then Toronto says that they had 5,000 people that had objections to being vaccinated, it stands to reason that Toronto had 5,000 people take the course. I don't really care what they do at the Toronto Health Unit. I don't. Like, these are useless jobs to begin with for the most part. I'm sure there's some good work that some of these people are doing, but in general, this is a make work project from the government.
Yeah.
Healthcare takes 51% of our provincial budget.
Yeah, because we have to have somebody to run the DVD player to tell parents that you should vaccinate your children so they don't die of polio.
Which is also on the rise.
Yeah, because these people aren't vaccinating their children against preventable diseases like polio.
Yeah.
Is that the thing with the horses and the...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you wear these horrible, like cotton shirts with a collar turned up and these god awful tight pants.
You have to change your name to Nigel. And
it's a horrible disease.
You say, I say.
I say, good man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as an aside on the topic of polo, have you ever heard of a game called Bakazi?
Is that the one that they play in the Middle East on like camels?
Yeah.
Hey, that was in Rambo. That was in Rambo 3.
It was also in Rambo 3. Yeah, you
So
use a decapitated goat.
Bakabazi.
No, it's not Bakabazi.
And it's not Benghazi.
But
Or
No.
Benghazi? It's not Benghazi?
no, none of these things.
It's not Ben Affleck.
Who is the
With
palm in
caution.
Phantom Theo?
It was Rambo 3, the now hard to find movie.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Also, Afghan's national sport. But yeah, we should take up playing that.
10 out
game,
of
maybe.
10. Yeah, 10
We
out
should
of 10
start a
we'll play.
league. We should start a league in
Yes.
Ontario.
Yeah.
Like polo, but with a
Yeah, fuck those
decapitated
polio
calf.
guys. Yeah, fuck Nigel and this polio.
And a lot more drinking.
A lot more drinking. And I believe it's a full contact sport.
So we get
It
AK?
steamed it. It seemed it in that documentary, Rambo 3.
Yeah.
Awesome. That aside,
Vaccinate your
the
kids.
the vaccination thing. This There's been stuff in the news recently. There was a measles outbreak at Disney World. Wasn't YVR, the Vancouver airport, didn't they recently have a measles outbreak like 2 weeks ago?
That was over in the Mennonite Belt there in towards Abbotsford.
No, I thought they actually were. I thought the airport itself was impacted.
Not that I know of.
Maybe
Okay.
they drove their carts near the airport. And,
Coughed.
yeah.
So
Wiped
there
out
are-
the whole village. One
Cover it.
cough.
Yeah.
Bring out your dead. I really need more Monty Python drops in my life.
It was in the quilts, Gavin.
Oh, fuck. Trudeau's got to go do another speech then.
Oh, jeez.
So this particular
soon?
like no. The thing I wanted to loop back with this was with the education system, because I mentioned earlier about the whole government indoctrination camp. If the reason for this is because it's various acts in various provinces that require you to vaccinate your children before sending them to government school, just stop sending them to government school. If you don't want to vaccinate your kids,
Yeah.
just opt out of going to school. You still get to pay for it the same as I do,
Yeah.
but
Well,
your
but
kids just don't get to go.
The
Yeah,
beauty
for the
of it,
rest of
though,
your-
is
yeah.
they don't need to worry about saving for their kids' college and stuff like that because they won't make it.
Also true.
Especially if they get polio.
Yeah. Although they will
Unless
have
they
to
get a
spend a lot of
sponsorship
money. Yeah.
or scholarship? Yeah,
Yeah.
scholarship.
Get a scholarship for that horse carcass, that goat carcass game you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's right. No, so I like this is kind of the thing. Is like if I don't like the government mandating what you shall and shall not do, because I don't think that is my government's place to tell me that I should or should not do something. But I am also a relatively learned individual, and I understand what vaccines are for and generally how they work, and that they are generally considered beneficial. So my infant child has all of them because I don't want him to not have working legs when he's 2.
Yeah. I mean, this is
I'm
how
pretty
I've
sure that's
always,
the outcome of polio.
This is how
I'm
I've
pretty
always
sure
looked at it. Like, I don't think the government should force you because I don't think they should force anyone to really do anything. That being said, even if it's true that like 1 in however many million kids gets autism from it, which it's not, but even
It's
if
not.
it is, the odds
Worst-
of your kid living past a certain age without them is a lot less than it is that your kid's going to get autism. So it's just a numbers game at this point.
If your kid gets autism, he could still go on to do quite well in Canadian Rimfire Precision Series.
Yeah.
Or politics.
Yeah.
Oh, could grow up to be the prime minister.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the topic of the whole MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine causing autism, this has been thoroughly debunked. The British doctor who wrote that study is no longer allowed to be a doctor. He
Yeah, but, like-
basically made things up, and this is widely regarded in the medical community as one of the most fraudulent papers ever written.
It's a witch hunt.
Yeah.
He
but like,
literally turned people into newts.
no, but like for real, like I heard on YouTube that like Gwyneth Paltrow had some facts and she totally says that vaccines cause autism. She's got to know what she's talking about.
She did name her
And-
kid Apple. She's a genius.
Yeah.
No, she was supposed to invest in Apple stock. She is doing it wrong. Yeah, this is. I am skeptical of any vaccines causing autisms, but the whole MMR thing from the late 90s, that
Yeah.
doctor is not allowed to practice medicine, and that study is widely regarded as being completely fucking fraudulent.
A lot of people who think that vaccines cause autism take meth.
Not sure that that's true, but interesting correlation if it is.
Well, then
less than-
like, you know,
More than zero.
Looking at you, Gwyneth Paltrow.
yeah, pretty much all of the people that are, against vaccines have had them and turned out totally fine. Just saying.
Yeah, this is kind of my take on this. Is if you don't want to vaccinate your kids, that's fine. You do
Just don't
you.
send them to school.
Don't send them to school, and don't put them anywhere near my kids, because I don't
Yeah.
want my kids to get polio.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause, like,
Keep your
the
dirty,
whole-
shitty kids away from Andrew's kids.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Like, if you want to go and not get vaccinated and live in a community that doesn't believe in that, then like that's fine. But you go live there, not with the
Yeah.
rest of us.
Go hang out with the Amish.
Right? Because, like, yeah, maybe there's something. Maybe we're over vaccinating, or maybe vaccines do something as some side effect that's not clearly documented, or what have you.
Sure.
But
Go to
if we're going to have government
Mumsburg.
indoctrination centers that I have to pay for and that my children have to attend in one degree or another, whether I have to send them to the one that says property of the government of Ontario, or whether I have to send them to the one that says Montessori, officially sponsored by the government of Ontario, like, it doesn't, like, as long as I have to keep sending my kids to one of these government indoctrination centers, your kids should not be getting mine sick.
Okay.
So go and enjoy your polio elsewhere.
Preferably in England, where they
Well,
invented
hey.
the damn sport.
I say,
Or I would also accept at the Toronto City Council, because these guys could use an autiste to fix their budget. Do you want to talk about this, Gavin? You're closest to that shithole.
I prefer the third world country. Yeah, I guess, you know, the thing with the city council, Ford came in and slashed it dramatically, potentially maybe as a result of the whole talking nonsense about a gun ban. And he was like, fuck you guys, and basically cut them in half. But somehow now the smaller city council is costing more money, because apparently now they need more staff in order to do the things that they were doing before. But to me, I don't know, the money doesn't seem to make sense to me why it would go up. I mean, I understand that maybe a little
Agreed.
bit, like, things may cost a little bit more because you maybe need to hire a few more people to do some of the work, but those people should be paid less than the people they let go. So that should be cheaper.
But he doesn't have any control over how many drones they hire, though, right?
I think,
Yeah.
I think
This is
I
the
agree
thing
with
where
you.
I got-
I thought just it should go up more per counselor. Like, the cost per counselor should go up, but the cost of the city, like,
Yeah.
you'd think it would go down.
Overall, yeah, like
think
with
this
how
is
much those
bullshit.
guys are paid,
Wow.
and especially with all the, like, you know, and to use Doug's brother Rob's phrase, the gravy train, you know, to stop, because you've got a bunch of guys that were paid a shit ton of money that now also don't draw that salary and also don't get the perks that went along with it, like parking and free passes to the zoo and like a ton of other things that cost money that weren't necessarily like apparent on the books because it's, you know, perks of the job. But also I think it's that the city councilors decided to vote for this, which they did, out of spite, to be like, well, fuck you, Ford. You can't control us on this, so
Yeah, to make them look bad also. But
yeah, because
I'm thinking, like, there's got to be, for all we know, like, until there's like an in-depth study on this that's released, and there probably never will be. Like, there could be all the severance on it from like last year.
yeah, that'll only come out.
Do you want
after
do
the
you want to
fact.
have an in-depth study? Because I can totally direct you to an in-depth study, Tim.
No,
Because I did some. No? Well, I'm gonna anyway, because it's Monday night and I'm doing my
I
show.
gotta-
So,
Yeah,
I got to go on
I got-
Kijiji and price a goat carcass.
well, I got my inner autiste on because I definitely had all the vaccines as a child.
It doubled up.
I
Yeah.
tripled up in some cases. So
Yeah.
the way that the original Global News article the internet was all pissed off about worked was that the previous city council budget was for 44 wards and was, call it $10.5 million for easy math. The new budget is for 25 wards and is a $12 million budget. So it's an increase of about $1.5 million, rounding for simplicity's sake.
Yeah.
The previous council was not 44 seats, though. It was 47. Doug Ford slashed the number of seats from 47 to 25. So I'm not sure where this 44 ward budget that Global News references comes from. Like, maybe that's an out of date number?
Ooh, so back when the budget was lower than it is now, maybe?
Possibly. I'm not sure where that number came from. But anyway, let's go with the 44-seat math because I've done the math and it's not very complicated. It's Toronto. It shouldn't be.
Let's just take a second to point out that no one, sacked up and put or vaulted up to put their name to this article. This is
Well, it's Blog.to. They're not really a real news outlet, but they're what we're referencing because it's
they're as real as any other news outlet.
yeah, because they dared to write an article on a blog.
I contend that we are a
Fuck
more
those guys.
legitimate source of news than they are. But anyway,
Well, yeah.
so the way this worked under the old system with 44 seats, apparently, which I don't understand still, but accepting that for what it is and moving forward, each councillor could spend, call it $250,000 for easy math, $241,000 for the people that also had 3 doses of the MMR vaccination, $241,000 per councillor on staff. Now, the way this is written is a little confusing. City Council voted to increase the amount of money each councillor could spend on staff by about $482,000. That would be doubling if they were to go from 241 to 482. That would be double.
Yeah.
But the article says that it increased by 482. So in my mind, that means it actually tripled.
Yes.
That doesn't support the math that they have because 25 times 482 is just over $12 million.
I'm thinking whoever wrote this article had their cell phone out in class a lot.
I feel like that might be the case. So I don't think this was an increase in the amount each councillor could spend by 482. I think it was an increase to 482.
Well, either way, like
it doubled, which makes sense because if there were 44 seats and there are now 25 seats, that is roughly half. So it makes sense that the division of labor, the people helping the ward councillors, if there are half as many councillors, the wards are twice as big, you have the same number of staff administering the same amount of people. So you would have 2 people helping each councillor instead of 1 person helping each councillor.
But
and
here's
the
the
math
thing
works out.
Here's the thing I don't get. So if we reduce
Magnets,
the
how
number,
do they work?
if we reduce the councillors by half, but the wards basically get absorbed. So now we have half as many wards, but they're twice the size. The staff should stay the same and get paid the same. But you've got, like you just said, you've got 2 people reporting to a councillor instead of 1. So we should still be saving money because the councillors are not there.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. That's what I was building to with all of this is, yes, we have effectively an increase in staff by 3 people by my math, assuming that everybody gets paid $250,000, which I don't know what they actually make in Toronto, but call it $170,000 plus benefits. It's $250,000 for easy math, right?
Yeah, they're definitely
each
north of
councillor
100. So.
Each councillor gets a deputy under the old system. The wards are twice as big as they used to be. So now every councillor gets 2 deputies. So
but they've got to have a lot less salary than the councillors do.
Well, and that's the thing is they talk about the council budget being this one. The council budget is not $12 million. This is one line item in the Toronto City Council. So again, like Lugan Press up to their regular tricks here. Beer will make you burp. The Lucan Press is up to their regular tricks here. We're looking at one line item and calling it an entire budget. And we're looking at it as being this, it's $1.5 million more than it used to be. But it's not really. I mean,
also,
yes, it's $1.5 million more than it used to be, but we also got rid of some number of councillors because I'm still convinced that it was moved from 47 to 44. But
I just want to circle back to one quick thing here, and it says that the city council has had to double its operating budget to maintain larger wards, and that increase was approved by council. So that just
and it doesn't make, because why would they need to if it's the same amount of people? If I'm right, and it's they've got 2 staff per councillor instead of 1 staff per councillor, why did they need to increase the operating budget?
Why they shouldn't hire a couple people, adjust for inflation from the year previous. Done. Minor difference.
So
but overall should still be
roughly the same.
Substantially lower, or
Oh yeah,
the
the
same,
overall city
but,
council
like-
budget should definitely be lower because you don't have
yeah,
19
I-
counselors at $250,000 a
Yeah.
pop.
I think, like I said, is that these guys are butthurt that their buddies are gone, and they voted to increase the budget just to spite Ford and make him look bad when there's nothing he could do about that. Like,
Yeah, one line item in the budget though. That's the part that kills me.
yeah, I'm sure they voted to
Yeah.
fucking increase their toilet paper budget too, and
There was a great comment on the Facebook comments for the article, and there was a guy called Ben. He said, "Whether the city council cut is right or wrong, this is horribly misleading. It does not include the council salaries, which haven't changed, meaning a savings of $2.2 million per year, and that's just the obvious spending that comes to mind."
yeah,
So Lugan Press up to doing Lugan Press things.
Right.
Hey Gavin, this one's actually in your neck of the woods.
yeah.
You want to
And
tell everybody
apparently
about that?
it's more like the woods than anywhere now. But yeah, a wild turkey apparently has been chasing a postal worker every day in Mississauga.
You ever see a postal worker running to get their job done? Because this is a first for me.
Not even when they're crossing the
Yeah.
street.
At work, I barely see them at all. They come once a week, apparently. That's it. But I do have a sad update on this story.
The postal worker got shot by mistake.
No,
Well, I bet you they imported foreign hunters to hunt down the turkey and paid them extraordinarily high amounts.
no.
Did they do it from a
no.
helicopter? Because that's the only acceptable way to do that, at least in BC.
No, sadly, this wild turkey has been hit by a car.
God damn it!
So,
Taken from us
damn.
too soon.
Yeah,
Women drivers.
kudos to you, wild turkey, that chased that postal worker and actually made him work. Not all heroes wear capes.
I said not all turkeys wear capes. That's the lie. Which is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Thanks a lot, ladies. You killed a turkey.
yeah, he's up there with Harambe now.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm curious what the turkey knew about Hillary Clinton or Trudeau.
God bless you, Turkey, for doing your important work and getting the Cup W employee to run faster.
Well, although I got to say, that's probably the most dedication the Canada Post workers ever had, showing up to that route day after day after day to get chased by a turkey.
I love that the city.
You know what? You're right. I should give him more credit. Sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
I love when the city does a response that is completely like flat and like factual. It's just like birds may find their way into residential areas looking for food. These birds, like, no one cares. A turkey chased a fucking postman.
Yeah.
That's
Well, so the really fucked up thing, and I think I might have.
who are
told
you,
this
Richard
story.
Attenborough? Just
Yeah.
quit narrating the goddamn
But,
turkey thing.
I mean, you know, I live and work in Mississauga, and I actually did see a wild turkey at the side of my office once. I was pulling into my parking space, and there he was, fucking strutting around. And I was like, there's woods not that far away, but like for a turkey, it's pretty fucking far. And I was like, how the hell did you get here? But apparently there are more wild turkeys in Mississauga than I ever thought.
It was probably
and they're
like a
aggressive.
Nissan Rogue,
Yeah,
an undercover Nissan Rouge.
that RCMP.
That RCMP. All right, let's move on to rapid fire feedback. It's that time in the show again. 2 emails this week. First one, subject is no updates on iTunes. Gentlemen and Eric. Not sure if you're listening to the right podcast. Gentlemen and Eric. I've been going into withdrawal during my boring commute to and from work as your podcast episodes have not been making it to iTunes since the end of February. I became so desperate for inebriated criticism of socialism and other fine discussions that I checked YouTube. Then I became depressed when I saw that you've been sharing your collective wisdom there, but not on iTunes. What's going on? Did some libtarded apples piss in your whiskey? Are commie bastards censoring your freedom to speak? I hope you can resolve this soon before I have to start watching YouTube videos while driving. Thanks, from the despondent in Drumbo. And you have my deepest apologies. I have had some work and personal issues this month that have delayed the podcast coming out. The good news is earlier today I released 2 episodes 172 and 173. Original episode 174 will likely be released as bonus content, although it is in its unadulterated glory on YouTube. This is the real episode 174 now.
Yeah.
So
174B.
Yes, I don't know. I'll figure out a way to name it better later. But the 2 episodes that we successfully recorded this month have been published, and you have my deepest apologies. I had to go to Mississauga to be chased by a turkey. No, wait, that's wrong. I had to go to Mississauga. I was doing some work there recently, and then I was dealing with a sick infant. So apologies for slacking on editing duty. But if you want to become a Patreon and replace my salary, I'll do this full time.
Yeah, then I did receive a comment in person from one of our regular listeners, Doug, this weekend at the Sportsman Show. So hopefully, he's happy now that we've released some more episodes.
Well, fingers crossed.
Sorry, this isn't feedback. I'd like to say happy birthday to Don, who's probably listening or will be shortly.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Don.
Also known as Shathid.
Yeah, to Don and his fabulous hair.
God.
Magnificent son of a bitch.
It is.
Yeah.
Makes George Clooney look like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, George Clooney also makes George Clooney look like a fucking asshole.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
But Don is a handsome man.
Yeah.
We've also got another one. It's called Subject Review. iTunes doesn't make it easy to write reviews. Listen to the podcast frequently. If you find a way to leave reviews on iTunes, lets everyone know. No, I'm not drunk. I read that's how it's written. Yeah, iTunes is a piece of shit. Sorry. It's just how the internet works.
Yeah. Blame it on Gwyneth Paltrow's kid.
Freaking Apple.
Fucking Apple.
Fucking Apple. Really quick. Well done, guys. Proud of you both. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. iTunes is a steaming pile of garbage. Sorry. It is the biggest podcast database, and everything else basically looks at it. So that's the thing that you got to use. Yeah. All right, that's the end of the rapid fire feedback. Let's find out where you can find everybody on the panel when they're not on the panel. Gavin, where is your home on the internet?
You can typically find me on Instagram at Urbex_GTA, or if you happen to be in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area on the weekend coming up, you'll find me there too.
I love Tulsa.
Damn.
Those great chips.
You're gonna be hanging out in the be hanging out in the hills.
Yeah, I'll and I'll be concealed carrying because I'm allowed.
Tulsa.
Nice.
Dancing.
Ian, where can everybody find you?
Well, I was watching the YouTube live chat there, and Mr. Lumley, if you're very interested in the difference between alpacas and llamas, you can reach me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. And we'll also be participating in another podcast called Canadian Prepper Podcast. It's on my YouTube channel called The Island Retreat.
And tune in for the next episode, llama or alpaca.
That's right. We'll cover that sooner or later.
Alpacas
I think that's also where you'll find
Eric. There, though.
Everything I ever wanted to know about llamas I learned from Napoleon Dynamite.
Which one would chase a postman better?
Oh, definitely the llama, for sure.
That's what you got to get then. That's the one to get.
Yeah.
That's the one. Tim, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at facebook.com/TimsGoodT-shirts.
Also, a new business, Tim's Good Llamas.
Yes. Tim's Green Corn. Anyway, apologies to Rod Galactica. We were... Sorry, that's your line.
No, you got it. Give her.
Okay. Apologies to Rodelstar Galactica. And remember, you are the true north, strong and free. Fierce.